Welcome, everybody. It is January 19th. The year is 2023. I can't believe that I'm already saying that. Last year was such a big one for DevLake. Of course, celebrating its first birthday in early December of last year. So we're on month 14 of this wild adventure, and so much exciting things happening, so much that we can be proud of as a community over this last year. And I'm really excited to kick this year off with some really kind of exciting updates, some exciting news, a lot of planning. And I hope to hear from many of you guys on what you're looking to see more of this year, what you'd like to accomplish with DevLake on personal levels. I think something we did a really fantastic job of last year, and this is really credit to our community, is we built this nurturing place where people are not just growing DevLake, they're not just growing dev data, they're growing their careers, they're growing their networks, they're growing their skills as part of the DevLake family. And I think that's part of the magic of our community. So let's keep that going, and let me know always if you have any ideas for what we want to be doing more of. So today we've got a pretty awesome agenda, quite simple, lots of really important things. And especially for those of you who are tuning in to a DevLake community meetup for the first time, I hope this will give you a good opportunity to really kind of get yourself oriented on how the project works, how the core team operate, the things that you might want to be paying attention to. And we'll be covering all of that today. So first, I want to kind of welcome all of you, of course, to the meetup. And I want to share a couple of really kind of important things that I think are worth celebrating, worth highlighting, because it's easy to let these things pass us by in the day-to-day grind. But the DevLake Army on Slack, all of you are a key part of that. We're now 377 members strong, which is just so incredible to think about. We're growing every day. Let's keep that going. If you guys know anyone that's excited about dev data, excited about analytics, wants to dive into open source, invite them. Hopefully you know it's a welcoming and constructive place. And let's see if we can get to 400 before our next meetup. I have a good suspicion that we can. Very excitingly, for those of you that are using DevLake, or for those of you that are making contributions, DevLake users now account for over 140 different companies. I think that's just completely crazy. So exciting, so wild to think about. Hezheng and I are now busy almost every single day, I think, with some kind of user meeting, spanning everywhere from England to Brazil to Canada to all over the US to India to Norway. The DevLake family really is global, and it's incredible to really think about how much we've grown. So just two really kind of important statistics. I don't like to focus too much on metrics, at least as far as measuring our community experience and our community success goes. But I think these two numbers really tell an incredible story for the first year of this incredible project. So two more things that I'm excited to share with you. Last year, of course, we had a couple of really fantastic interviews with leaders from the space. Probably one of our most exciting ones was with the creator of Homebrew, that's Max Howell. Many of you tuned in for that, of course. This year, we'll be doing more of the same. We'll be interviewing engineering leaders. We'll be meeting with open source leaders to have them share their experience, share their advice. More of that will be coming. But something that I'm really excited to push this year, and you can expect more of this as we move forward, is we're going to start hosting more kind of workshops, more opportunities for you to learn new skills, to learn new techniques, and to hear from experts on specific topics. That's something we'll be pushing more and more of. So the next one of those, and I'll be sharing the link out later today, we'll be promoting this like crazy over the next few weeks, is the DORA Masterclass, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. Then 2 weeks after, as you might remember, we're on that 2-week schedule, so we won't be seeing you next Thursday, but we'll be seeing you again the Thursday after that. On that next session, we'll be having another session, putting dev data to work, which I'm excited to announce, which will be led by one of our new community members who I might introduce even on this call. We'll see. But a quick celebratory thing, obviously it's more than just the companies using it, but I do think it is also about the companies using it. DevLake is being used by some of the coolest, most well-known brands around the world. I think that's just so exciting. As I mentioned, 140 different companies represented in the user base. And we're just getting started. But this is something I think every single one of you on this call can feel proud of. Whether you've answered one question on Slack, it doesn't matter. You're a critical part of the community, and that's what's going to keep us driving forward and let us take over the world, at least from a dev data perspective. So before I share more information about the upcoming events, I always like to highlight some of our really kind of cool and interesting new members of the community. Of course, I can't fit everyone on here, so I apologize if you are a new member and you're not on here. That's probably most of you, actually. But I'll try and pick some interesting people each time, really just to have you pay a little bit closer attention, maybe reach out to them, maybe welcome them, maybe introduce yourself, because I think these are folks that are definitely worth paying attention to. So we have Christian John, who joined the community just 2 days ago. Christian is the president of Tier 4, which is a autonomous vehicle software company, and a friend of mine. Really nice guy, doing incredible things with a remarkable team of Japanese engineers. I think they're based in Tokyo primarily. Then we have our new friend Krishna Kumar, who we met through the Google DORA group, actually. Krishna has spent years, I think 2 decades actually, focused on understanding the value of metrics, analytics, and all kinds of different techniques applied to understanding software development, software efficiency, team dynamics. You'll surely be hearing more from Krishna in the near future, and we're looking to do some more collaborations with him. But Krishna is an incredibly kind guy, really interesting, really experienced, so do welcome him to the community. Next, we have a new friend, Samuel Adekunle, who is based in the UK, not far from where I grew up, actually. And Sam is at the, you'll have to forgive me, I'm forgetting the school name now, with my cold medicine pumping through my veins. But Sam is someone who's really kind of diving straight into open source, and I think is someone we surely will want to know in a few years. We have Ryan Kahn. He'll also likely be one of our new guests later this year. He's a really kind guy, has spent his career helping kind of mid-stage companies in the kind of Series A and Series B stage build better development processes, improve their efficiencies, and he'll be sharing his knowledge in the community in both the Slack and on an event in the near future. We also have Aparna, and I'm realizing, Aparna, there's a typo on your last name. I apologize for that. But welcome, Aparna. Aparna is a really talented developer based in India working at Accenture. And we should also congratulate Aparna on getting a PR into the product very recently, in fact, already making some great contributions and really kind of leading the charge. So excited to have you. Then last and certainly not least, we have our new friend Muktesh. Muktesh is at Adobe and was one of the founders and creators of a much earlier dev data visualization project called Hygieia that was sponsored and led by Capital One, a large bank here in the United States. And Muktesh is just an incredible guy. He's spent so much time in open source, leading many projects, contributing to many projects. He certainly knows his way around dev data, especially at the enterprise levels. And him and his team are hopefully going to be making some contributions to the project and supporting DevLake in many ways. So certainly be sure to welcome him if you see him in any of the chats. So that's a quick, exciting introduction to some of our new members. I'm really kind of wanting to make sure I highlight some of the folks who I think are really kind of bringing DevLake forward. And of course, this is not all of them. So again, this is just a sample. So what can you expect for our next event? Really excited for this. One of our new friends, a true expert and leader in the space, Nathen Harvey. So Nathen has spent most of his career, in fact, focused on understanding software development practices. He's one of the people who has been part of the DORA initiative for quite some time. He's responsible for teaching people what DORA is, how to use it, how not to use it, how to implement it, and he sees it from all angles. Really an incredible guy. And we're going to be lucky enough to have an intimate conversation with Nathen in just 2 weeks. We'll be talking about all things DORA. So if you've ever wanted to really, really learn about this, where did it come from? Why is it important? How do you use it? What are the mistakes that you can make? Maybe what's happening next with the framework. You won't want to miss this. I'll be sharing out the registration link. That way you can all be sure you're on there. But that will be a really fun one. And that's going to be kicking off this new series of events that I'm excited to push here in the new year. So I know I've said a lot. I'm going to be now passing the mic to my lovely colleague, Hezheng, who's going to walk through 2 slides here. A lot of important details in these. The first is kind of walking you through the current release. And then after that, we'll jump forward a slide to talk a little bit about what's coming next. So thanks for joining me this morning, Hezheng, as always. And I'll mute myself and pass the mic to you.
Thank you very much, Maxim. And it's great to see everyone in 2023. I'm excited to walk through the new features and improvements from our latest release, 0.15. But before that, I want to apologize for the delay in this release. The original plan is to release these 0.15 by the end of December. But unfortunately, some of our core developers, got COVID. And then it got delayed for about 2 weeks. But now it's out, and it's a major upgrade compared to 0.14. So I'm really excited to get feedback on 0.15 from all of our users. And here are the major features and bug fixes for 0.15. First, on the framework level, we add an option to skip failed tasks. And also, we now support rerunning failed tasks. So why this is important? This is particularly important for users who want to collect hundreds of repos with one pipeline. And sometimes it's common due to some network issue or maybe some rate limiting issue, one task may fail. And then now with these 2 features, we can skip that failed task and keep running the rest of the task. And when you got time, you can come back and then rerun only the failed tasks so to get the entire pipeline working. So these are 2 framework level improvements. The third item on the list, it's about DORA, and then we now support project-based DORA metrics. In 0.14, we ship support for DORA, but that's a global calculation logic where we calculate DORA for all the data in your database. But imagine a scenario where you have multiple teams using the same DevLake instance, and they each have their own DORA configuration. Maybe they have different definition for incident, and 0.14 wouldn't support that use case. But within 0.15, now you can create project for each of your team, and then you can configure your transformation rules and calculate DORA metrics independently on project level. So these are major feature for users with multiple teams. And next up, on config UI, now we support bulk importing for GitHub, GitLab, Jira, and Jenkins. Take GitHub as example. It's common that people want to import all repositories under your organization. And before, you can only import with the config UI, you can import repo one by one, or you need to write a script, which we provide to do bulk importing through DevLake API. This turn with 0.15, now it's supported natively with config UI. You can just click on your GitHub organization, and then we can help you pre-select all of the repositories for bulk importing. Next up, this is a really exciting one. For GitHub, we have sped up GitHub data collection by more than 10x with GitHub's GraphQL API. Just a quick example using our own repository, because we have many CI/CD pipelines in GitHub Actions. Right now, with one token, it takes 10 hours to collect, incubator-devlake repository. But if you turn on GraphQL support, then it only takes our GitHub plugin to collect our own repository for with 1 hour. So it's exactly 10x faster than before. A huge improvement for users who has a ton of GitHub repositories. And last feature I want to cover here is that we introduce a time filters to only collect recent data for multiple plugins, including GitHub, GitLab, Jira, Jenkins, and Tapd. And why this is important is that sometimes our users have a large repository with maybe over 10 years of history, and they are really only interested in the recent data, right? Like recent half a year or maybe recent year. So this is another way to speed up data collection. And now, by default, DevLake only collects the data from the recent last 6 months. But you can, customize it to maybe include the entire history or include a longer history, depending on your preference. So these are the major features from 0.15. They are not the entire feature list. If you want to know more about it, you can check out our entire changelog on our GitHub release page. So next page, please, Maxim. So for 0.16, this will be a relatively smaller release compared to 0.15. It should be available in late February and early March. And here are some of the new features that we plan to include in 0.16. First, on new plugins level, we want to support Azure DevOps. I know multiple users are waiting for this one. SonarQube. So this is a new domain for us. It's a code scanning domain. So I'm pretty excited to expand the new domain for DevLake. And lastly, Bamboo CI. So this is a new tool for one of the existing domains, the ICD. And for Config UI, we'll add front-end support for Azure DevOps and Bitbucket. So Bitbucket, we have implemented the backend plugin, and right now it's in beta, but it's not available in Config UI yet. So right now you can only invoke Bitbucket plugin for DevLake API or advanced mode. But in next release, we're going to add Config UI support for Bitbucket. And on the framework level, so this is a good one. We're going to support writing plugins in Python. So right now, the user experience, the developer experience in writing plugins in Golang is good, but definitely has some room for improvement. And we're going to take that to the next level by enabling our developers to write the plugins in Python, utilizing some of the language features to make it really easy and simple to implement new plugins. So that's one of the framework improvement. Next framework improvement is that we're going to allow importing data, expanding data schema by CSV. So this is particularly useful for users who doesn't use a standard issue tracker, and maybe they build their own issue tracker, or maybe they want to expand the dimensions in some of our tables. Then this feature is for them. And lastly, I want to highlight is we're going to support GitLab Community Edition version 11.x. So right now, I think we support version 13.x, but we have got some multiple reports from users that they are, they use an on-prem GitLab, and then they're on version 11.x. So we're going to see if we can support those users. And two improvements also all from our user request. For GitLab, we're going to apply different rate limits to different subtasks. So this will speed up data collection for GitLab. And then for Jira, we're going to support barrel authentication for people who don't have access to basic authentication, maybe from a security perspective. So that's it. So if you have any questions, let me know. And if you have any feature requests, just feel free to reach out on Slack or just open a GitHub issue on GitHub. And looking forward to all of your feedback on 0.15 and feature requests for 0.16. I'm going to pass the mic back to Maxim.
Awesome. Thanks, Hezheng. It's funny, I was laughing that you were saying this next release in February is not so big. And to me, it feels like it still is, especially the plugins with Python. I think that's such an exciting update. I know we have many people that are excited about Golang and are kind of looking to sharpen their skills with that, but I also know how strong the Python data science community is in particular. So I'm excited to see what all of you can accomplish with this update. So some really significant and exciting things here. And something I should also make note of is right now we're, of course, we have plenty of plans, but I think the beginning of the year is always a really good opportunity to kind of submit issues, to make requests, to send us DMs, as we really do plan out the year. This is a great opportunity. You'll always have opportunities, of course, to influence the roadmap. We're always going to be responsive to what the community is looking for. But all of that is to say that I think now is probably one of the best times that can possibly exist to really kind of have a bigger, more kind of high impact request, at least. So if you have any ideas or things that you'd like to see, don't hesitate to drop us a note either in GitHub or in Slack. So I'll pass the mic now to our colleague Joshua. So for those of you who are new to the community, I should, of course, kind of do some quick introductions so that you can familiarize yourself with who everyone is presenting on this call today, at least. So you probably know me already, Maxim. I lead really all things community and marketing and events with DevLake as part of the Apache PMC. And Hezheng and I are colleagues at Merico, who is the creator and lead supporter of DevLake. Hezheng, of course, is the creator and lead maintainer of DevLake and also on the Apache PMC. And then last and certainly not least, we have our friend Joshua. Joshua is also on the Merico team, a developer evangelist. You'll see him certainly engaged in supporting our community, and he runs a lot of our programming in India and beyond, as well as our Junior Developer Evangelist program, which he'll provide a quick introduction to, as well as an update on the next slides. So lots of really exciting things happening, of course. So I'll pass the mic to you, Joshua. Thanks for joining us in your evening. I guess for our audience who are new to this, maybe a quick about like what is the JDE program and what have they been up to recently?
Yeah, thanks, Maxim. And yeah, really excited for what's coming up with DevLake. And I'm Joshua, and I'm leading the JDE program. And we have lots of programs embedded in the single JDE program. So JDE program is the Junior Developer Evangelist program, which is basically a platform for the people, for the community to get involved and get hands-on on the product and work with the community, and also at the same time help the DevLake project to grow. Right, this is the entire new program which is mostly focused on evangelism activities, but at the same time we make sure you have enough knowledge on what's happening with the product, which can enhance your resume. It can help you get some skills. And of course, this can open up a lot of opportunities, as other fellowship and ambassador programs which are there. So as a part of this program, there are two things that are happening, that is community spotlight and project spotlight. So a community spotlight is something like where, we recognize the people of open source who joined our DevLake Slack community, and we just want to share their background and give a shout out on Twitter or even on Slack. So if you want to nominate anybody from the community, you feel like they should be on the spotlight, you just hit a DM to me and we'll consider that. And Project Spotlight is another interesting program, which I'll be talking about it in the next slide. But to give a quick intro, it's similarly to the Community Spotlight program, but here we are recognizing projects in the open source ecosystem, which are dev data driven, which are doing something significant in DevOps ecosystem, solving the problems in this domain, etc. And we are trying to leverage the power of DevLake to identify what can be done better and how we can present these projects in a better way and help the community to grow, and also be aware of what DevLake can do for these kind of projects. So JDEs are going to lead this, individually and as a team. and I'll be talking about that structure in the next slide. So here you can see a great picture of our friends Ayush and Bhavya, who are JDEs, and as part of the program, JDEs get involved in events, as a speaker, as an organizer, and any ways which we can collaborate, right? And they delivered a talk in the month of December 2022, which was focused on DORA metrics and DevLake, and it was hosted by Civo Cloud. So this is one of the things we want to recognize, our JDEs in this kind of community huddle. And we also have Hanith and Palanikanan. We named them as open source twins. So they helped us to develop and set up a Gitpod instance where it will enable you all to basically set up DevLake on the cloud without setting up in your own machine, right? So if you want to just try and see how it is working, so it's the best way to do that. So there's also another update that's coming up. Of course, Gitpod instance will be live for the DevLake main repo, which is work in progress by, again, Hanith and Palanikanan and the entire JDE team. So the website Gitpod instance is basically live. You can go to our DevLake website repository and you can just see it there. And we have we also are focusing on improving our developer experience, improving our product through the JDE program. So as a team, we have achieved 5+ new documentation updates and still going and still improving the things that can be that might be missed somehow, because there's always an improvement. There's always a new perspective by a beginner, by an advanced DORA enthusiast. So it can be anyone. So we want to make our product, make our documentation as beginner friendly as possible. So even you can just contribute to our documentation, and we are always here to support as a community, support as a team. So let's go into the next slide and see how the Project Spotlight program is. And it's really, it was really huge than what we imagined. Initially, we thought to create something which can recognize the projects in the open source ecosystem, but it really turned into a big project, or maybe it can be run as a separate project in future. And the structure you can see here is very simple. Like under the JDE program, there's a Project Spotlight program. And every Project Spotlight will have a project leader, and it will be interchangeable, right? This week, we have Hanith as a project leader for Gitpod project. So we will be analyzing Gitpod from a fresh perspective and giving up some, creating some dashboards and metrics, and also creating a case study, and also publish the content, the learnings, the improvements that we have seen by creating the dashboard. So we are covering the technical aspect. We are also covering the product aspect, where you create case studies and understand the product in a deeper level. And at the same time, we are also focusing on content and evangelism, where we'll be creating some Twitter threads, and maybe that can be converted into a blog post, and maybe it can also be converted into an event where we invite the potential leaders of the project and have an interview, like one-on-one session or something like that. So it is turning into a huge roadmap for us. So everybody will be contributing in each stages, and all the JDE, I give a first bump to everyone. It's a great progress, and this was an initiative by Hanith and Palanikanan themselves. So this was a Project Spotlight, is an initiative by JDEs themselves, and we are trying our best to support this and make it a success. and help the project to grow, help the open source ecosystem to grow. And also if you have any project you want to nominate that this should be a spotlight, this can be analyzed because there are some things missing in this particular project. So you can just DM me or ask in the question channel that we'll be happy to consider that. Yeah, thank you, Maxim, and thank you, Hezheng, for giving this opportunity. Yeah.
Of course. Yeah, this is a really exciting initiative, and the spirit of this for those of you who want to maybe help or support or get involved. The spirit of this is quite simple, which is we want to make the JDE program something that helps some of our community members level up their own skills, level up their careers, level up their networking so that they can support DevLake and in the process, of course, also develop themselves. And as part of that, we wanted to put together a team project that would give them something that could really kind of capture everything in one, while also helping the open source community. So the goal here is quite simple, which is we want to find really interesting and exciting open source projects. Perhaps they're projects that are doing something incredibly well, and we want to understand why and share those lessons. Or perhaps it's a project that is strong, but maybe has one particular area where they need to look at improving to make it better for open source developers. And we'll help uncover that and provide some thoughts of our own using the power of DevLake. So certainly if you are involved in other open source projects where you think there could be some collaboration opportunities here, or there's an open source project that you would be really curious to see us dive deeper into, certainly DM me or certainly DM Joshua, and we'll include it in the next 2 weeks. You'll be seeing the first content come out of this program, and I think it's going to be really interesting and exciting. So that concludes our planned agenda, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. In a second, I'm going to stop the screen share so that I can see the Q&A. I see there is one question, it looks like. But certainly raise your hands or drop it in the chat or drop it in the Q&A feature. If you want to ask a question through text, you can send it in the Slack DM. We'll be monitoring that, or here in the Zoom. Or if you want to actually chat with us, just raise your hand and let us know. And we can pull you up onto the virtual stage to speak with us. Whether you want to use video or not is up to you. But that concludes today's event, the first of the year. We have so much exciting stuff in store. So we'll all stick around for a few minutes to answer any questions or to chat with all of you. But otherwise, thanks for joining. We'll see you on the Slack, and we'll see you on the next huddle. All right, it's funny. The question in there was just Presurgia giving us a fist bump here, saying, "Yeah, the VO.16 is actually big. Kudos to the DevLake team. Thanks, Presurgia." And if you guys haven't met Presurgia, I'd be surprised because he's so active. But definitely introduce yourself to Presurgia. He's an absolute powerhouse contributor and member of our community. Presurgia, as always, thank you for being such an awesome member of the community and helping users debug all kinds of challenges.
Yeah, thank you, Professor. You always got to the questions before me, so appreciate that.
Awesome. Well, with that, we will close up the Zoom room for the day, and we'll see you guys in Slack. Don't forget to submit any requests or questions to the three of us or just into the appropriate channel. I'll be sharing the link for the DORA Masterclass that's coming up 2 weeks from now. So not next week, but the week after, our usual schedule. The Zoom registration will apply to all of those. So once you've registered for one, you can just keep reusing that registration, but it should tell you that, and I'll of course be reminding you. But otherwise, until next time, we hope all of you are staying well, and we'll look forward to our next chat.